everyone and welcome back to my channel. In last video we started making a loungewear set and the first part were these sweatpants, and in this video we're gonna make the matching sweater to it. It will be out of the same fleece, and it turned out the fleece was very nice to have for this loungewear set, so I really recommend finding a fleece for this one. But of course you can also use a jersey or a sweat, what's it called, sweater material or something like that. That's fine too, but this fleece turned out to be really nice and cozy, so it's a really nice fabric to use for this. So I show you again the drawing of the two pieces together, and then we're gonna make the sweater. And if you like to make these sweatpants, I will leave the link down below in the description box of that video, so you can make that one too. And then for the top, I wanted to make a top with a standard collar with a drawstring here on the top of the collar. I made here double lines, and that is because I want the fabric not to have a normal seam here on the shoulder and sleeve seams, and also here in the mid front. But I want to sew the fabric on top of each other, so not the seams together so that they are inside, but on top of each other. I think that especially because I have a fleece that doesn't fray, it gives a really nice accent to the seams. So I'm going to do that. If you have another fabric that does fray, or if you don't like it, you can of course just make normal seams here, or even leave this one out in the mid front and just cut that onto the fold. That you can do too, but I like that as a special accent, because for the rest it is just water plain. We're gonna cut on the sleeves, so you only have a front and a back pattern. Here we have a left and a right, but no sleeves to attach or whatever, so it's a very simple and plain design. But for loungewear it will be very comfortable, because that's what we're gonna make. For your pattern for the sweater, you will again need your basic pattern for a top or a dress. And one of my subscribers asked me in the former video, when are we ever gonna use the darts? Well, next video we will make a dress that we're gonna use all the darts, so don't be afraid, we're gonna use them. But because of now in winter time with the knitted fabrics, we make more looser garments, and then you don't need those darts, and especially in knitted fabric it isn't even nice when you put darts in it, so that's why we don't use them. And because we don't take it in here, it means that your garment will be a bit looser again, so you can just use your normal side seam, because you're gonna add this part to your side seam, to your sizing, because we're not gonna take it in, so that is why that is. So what you do is you put your basic pattern on top of a new piece of paper. Mark again your neck hole for the front and for the back, or if you want two separate patterns, one with the back neck hole and one with the front neck hole. Then take a large ruler and measure first with your measuring tape how long you want your sleeve to be, because we're going to cut this onto our front pattern, onto our bodice. I put an extra 50 centimeters for my shoulder to the bottom of my sleeve, but measure how much you need. And I have my basic pattern with rather straight shoulders, because my shoulders on my body are very straight, but you will have most definitely have a bit of a drop, so like this. And then what you can do, you can just extend that same shoulder seam line for your sleeve. So add from the end of your shoulder seam the amount of centimeters that you need for the length of your sleeve. You see my shoulder went here, but for now I also made it just in one line, because this fabric is stretchy, so that isn't really a problem for my straight shoulders. So I added 50 centimeters to the end. Then I measured with my measuring tape how wide I want the bottom of my sleeves to be. And you do that just by putting your measuring tape around your wrist and see how tight or how wide you want your sleeves to be. I made mine 13 centimeters, so all around it is 26, so this is 13. And then you go with your ruler back to your armhole, the bottom of your armhole, and just a bit before you reach that, you make the curve to your side seam. and I almost exactly made the side seam the same as my basic pattern. You can also go just straight down, then you don't have a waist definition, but it is not really that much of a waist definition. It's just a little bit going in, but maybe you don't have that much of a difference between your armhole and your waist, and then you already have just a straight line. So it's not really important how much you give it. I like to give it a little bit and then going out to my hip width. So this will be my line. And then you already have your new pattern for your sweater, for the front and for the back. And then we're gonna cut it out, and because I'm gonna make some decorative seams in the front and on the shoulders, you don't have to do that. You can also put this just on the fold and just make a normal seam here, then just cut out your pattern with your seam allowance and normally sew them together. But I like to make a little bit of a decoration, and it means that I'm gonna put my two front parts right over left. And what I do then is my right part, I don't got seam allowance here on the mid front, I just got it straight onto the pattern line. And my left pattern I give 1 centimeter, because then I can put my white pattern on top of my left pattern that the mid fronts meet, and then I have 1 centimeter of seam allowance here below where the two are attached. So you don't need two seam allowances on both sides, because you're not going to put them together and the seam allowance are here on the inside. They're just on top of each other. So only put seam allowance on the part that is underneath the other one. So for me it will be seam allowance on my left pattern. And for the shoulder seam, I like to be the back on top of the front. So I make seam allowance on my front pattern and not on my back pattern. So I hope you understand what I mean. Otherwise, just try it out with some pieces of paper to mark where is your mid front and where do I need to add or where do I not need to add. And you can see that you don't adding too much, because when you add both the pieces 1 centimeter, then your garment will be 1 centimeter wider, or your shoulder will be 1 centimeter wider, because then you have too much. So we're gonna cut this out of your fabric. Of course, make sure your length is the way you like. I folded in my basic pattern the amount that this pattern was too long, so make sure you have the right length that you want your sweater to be. You can make it cropped, you can make it halfway, you can make it longer, whatever you like. Just make your pattern on that size. So I cut out my pieces, 2 front parts and 1 back part that is on the fold. And I'm going to start with putting my 2 front parts together. So by placing the right one on top of the left one with 1 centimeter overlap, because I got on 1 centimeter seam allowance on my left part of my front piece. And I'm going to pin them down and then just give it a top stitch. You don't have to finish it or whatever, because this doesn't fray, so it's very easy to do. If you don't have your front pattern in 2 pieces, you can already go on with the next step, and that will be here our shoulder and top sleeve seam. And you just do that by putting the shoulder seams on top of each other. Again, I put my back part on top of my front part, same as here. 1 centimeter seam allowance I got on one part, and just put them on top of each other, and then top stitch that all the way to the end of your sleeve. And you can do that for both sides. And I didn't cut my collar yet, because I will tell you later why I do that later on. So then I show you how you can best do that. So your mid front if you need to, and then show your shoulder and top sleeve seams. our mid-front seam now, our shoulder and upper sleeve seams. And you see this is still very plain, but it has just some accents that makes it more attractive, I think, than when this is just one fleece part. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make our side seams and our underarm seams. So put the front and the back right sides together. And immediately it falls right in place. And just line them up nicely. And you can sew those seams. And if you like, you can first pin it and then try it on and see whether the width is to your taste. To me, I think it looks a little bit wide, so I'm gonna pin it first and then try it on. See if I have to take it in a little bit, because this is so much thick of a fabric that it shouldn't be too wide on me. So I'm gonna do that. If you're sure, just sew on your side seams. And then we're almost done, so it's going quick. It on and it looks big, but it was perfectly fine, so I didn't change anything. I just sewed it down. But what I did change, I made the front neck hole a little bit wider. I made it 2 centimeters lower than that it was. Just here, going from the shoulder out, I went 2 centimeters down, so that my neck hole in the front is a little bit lower than it was. The width I didn't change because I don't like it when my collar is sitting here somewhere on my shoulder. I don't like how that feels. Then what I did, I took my measuring tape and I measured along my whole neck hole, front and back together, how much that circumference was. And then I cut out a piece of fabric that has that same length as that neck hole was. And I made it, I want my collar to be 8 centimeters high. Then I need 3 centimeters for my casing and 1 centimeter for the slim allowance where I attach it to my sweater. So for me it was 8 plus 3 plus 1, it's 12 centimeters high. If you want your collar higher, of course add some centimeters. Just make sure you have enough for your casing on the top and the seam allowance on the bottom. And then again, as same as for the sweatpants, I just cut out a strip of fabric of around 1 centimeter wide and just about 15 centimeters more than the casing finally will be, or the collar will be. So what we're going to do now is we're going to close up the mid-back part of our collar. So just stitch that down and then pin that here all around the neck hole, and I'll show you how to do that. It's very easy, but I'll come back for that step. Put in your collar, we close up the circle, lay it flat so that here you have your mid-back and you can mark here your mid-front. Then I put my sweater one side out, because then it's easiest to pin, because you can lay your collar inside your sweater, because then you have your white sides together. So then line up your mid-backs and line up your mid-front. And pin them together on that point. And then you distribute the whole fabric here in between, just around your neck hole. Just pin it down and make sure it is nicely even all around. Like that. Then you can sew all around, and when you flip it right side out, of course, first, then your collar will be attached to your sweater. So collar is nicely on. Now we're gonna make our casing for our drawstring. And what I did is I marked here where my casing will end. So I added 3 centimeters for the casing, so this will be folded under. So I marked where that fold will be. Of course I marked my mid-front. And I placed here those green pins where I want my buttonholes to be. So I'll make a buttonhole on the left and the right from the mid-front, so that I can fit in my drawstring later on. So just make here 2 buttonholes and make sure that you have exactly measured out where your casing will be, otherwise you will be too high or too low and then you will have a problem. Make your buttonholes and then you can fold in your casing and top stitch that all around. That you put your buttonholes in here, you fold the end to the inside to the width of the casing that you cut on, and then pin that all around and sew that down, and then you can fit in your drawstring here through the buttonholes, and then your collar is also nicely finished. And then the only thing you have to do is hem the bottom of your sweater, hem the sleeves. And you can just do that by folding it once and then top stitch it, because this won't fray unless you have another fabric than I have, but a jersey or a fleece won't fray, so you don't have to fold it doubled up. And then you're totally done. Here is the whole set finished, and it is really nice and warm, and they say in my country the next upcoming week we will have 40 centimeters of snow, so when you're off inches that's about this much, and I hope it won't be, I think it won't be, but they predict it, so if we are unlucky then we have a lot of snow, and then it's very nice to have such a warm loungewear set to stay warm and cozy within the house, because I won't go outside with that weather. I'm more of the 35 degrees and sunny weather, and that is not in my country, so unfortunately. But this loungewear set is really nice and comfy to have and to wear. Of course it's rather bulky, especially on me because I'm very short. I tucked it in, and you might know that I hardly ever tuck something in because it looks strange on my short body. But to show you just how it looks together, I did, and I will show you later how the sweater looks with just a normal skinny jeans, because then I will put it over and it looks a little bit more nice, I think. And editing me just saw that I didn't put in a clip with me wearing skinny jeans with the sweater, so I just put it in now, and you see that it's not that bulky anymore when you have some more tight fitted bottom to the sweater. Then the sweater looks a little bit more nice. I think this is more my taste, and I also just like to put it more over my bottoms than into the bottoms, but it was just to show the sweatpants. But you see, it's a really nice sweater. The details are very nice. They give it a little bit special part. I think like this you can just wear it nicely outside, and you have just a normal casual sweater to wear. And even when it's colder, you can just tie this on, then it's more tight to your neck. I think it looks really nice. But the collar is very nice like this. I don't like when this is too tight, and this is also not too wide, because then it gives even more bulk. A nice drawstring, you can make it tighter if you like, but this is just for me the right amount of width on my collar, on my neck, because I like this width the most. So I think it is very nice. You might see, I will show you some up close here, these seams. they stand out a little bit more than when you just make normal seams, also here in the mid front. And I think that gives it just a little bit more special, something different. And together with the color, I think the sweater is a really nice piece also to wear it on its own. It's of course not really something for going outside, or especially not for dressing up, because it's very difficult to make something really nice out of it. But just for in the house, it's very good to have. And this will be the last wintry piece that I will make, because I'm really done with that and I'm really longing for the nice weather. So the next video will be a rather summery or springy dress. It will be a copy of a dress that I already made some time ago, I think maybe even 5 years ago, out of a fabric that I bought in Hawaii. And it's really a Hawaiian-like fabric. And I really like the fit of that dress, so I found another fabric that is very nice for spring and summer, and we're going to recreate that dress. That is my own, so I don't have a picture of that, but I will show you the dress that we're going to recreate. So that will be the next video, a nice and fun spring type one, and I'm really done with the winter, so we'll stop the winter, we're going on to the summer and spring. If you have any suggestions for me to make for spring and summer, please leave me a photo, send me a photo in a DM or in my mailbox, and I can recreate it for you if you like that. If you have any other suggestions, just let me know. I have lots and lots of inspiration, but if there's something that you would like me to make, then just let me know what you want, and if you can, send me a picture of it too, so that I have more I can more see what you mean, because sometimes I don't understand when you explain to me in English what you mean, how it must look, and then I can see what it is and I can recreate it for you. So if you like that, do it. Please leave me a comment if you have any questions. I will leave down below in the description box also the video to the sweatpants, so you can make the whole set if you like that. And I'll see you again in 2 weeks, I hope with some more better weather than we have now. Thanks for watching. Bye.